Thank you. I'd like to open the February 3rd School Board for Central School District. I will call this to order and we will engage in the flag salute. Dawn, could you lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone. It's nice to see so many faces. This meeting, we want to open with a statement from board leadership as well as our superintendent, and each of us will take a turn giving a statement. As we begin our meeting this evening, we want to take a few minutes as we talk about the values, vision, and goals we've built together as Central School District 13J. This is our most important work together, promoting the safety and well-being of every student, every family, and every staff member we serve. They depend on each of us aligning to our district values and upholding our policies and mission.
We know that not all of our students, families, and staff are feeling safe and welcome. We have policies and procedures we will continue to follow. We continue to monitor all legal developments and hold ourselves responsible for implementing. Every student in our district must receive the very best education in a welcoming and safe environment. Every staff must actively support these policies and procedures that create a safe space in our schools for all students, families, and staff. Should an immigration official come to one of our buildings, the superintendent and/or the executive director of human resources will take the lead in working with officials. As with anything, we continue to follow state and federal laws while providing our students with the best education possible.
We believe in building an inclusive culture of belonging and learning for the success of the whole child. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing every time. The whole child, the whole educator, and the whole community. We're committed to engaging, supporting, and preparing our students as whole child to be successful in their endeavors. We know that students show up their best when they feel safe, accepted, and valued. Excuse me. Families engaged in their child's, we believe in families engaged in their child's education. This means every family is welcomed, supported, safe, and valued when they come into our buildings. We are committed to our staff, their safety, and the purpose we share with them, that each student feels safe, accepted, and valued. We are committed to strong community partners to cultivate a safe, healthy, prosperous, and inclusive community.
Thank you. At this time, we'll adopt the agenda.
Yes, we do not have any revisions or adjustments to the agenda. Again, we'll go right into student reports. We have an exciting presentation from the Willamette Career Academy, which we're very excited to share about. We'll have communication from the floor. We have two standing reports, one being the 23-24 audit and our transportation update. I just have a short update on our graduation rates that were released last week into the board report, consent agenda, and then we have several business agenda items, comments from the board, and then we do not have an executive session this evening.
All right, thank you. I can't wait to hear from the students.
Yeah, so joining us this evening is our district coordinator, Rosanna Larson, and who oversees and has been integral in helping us develop or get into and develop the Willamette Career Academy and Pathways, which is located at the Willamette Career Academy. It is and I'm going to tell me if you're going to go into a little bit of the details of the hub.
Yes.
I'm going to hand it over to Rosanna to share and then introduce our students.
Okay, thank you. And I loud enough in this? Okay. First, I wanted to also welcome tonight and thank for joining us. We have Alan Kirby, who's the principal from the Willamette Career Academy. Yep. And then we also have Adam Whalen and Michael Becks, and they are both from the ESD. So they came to help support as well. So if you have additional questions, they would probably have the most expert answers. So we have a whole bunch of students here tonight and family members, and some of our students who weren't able to come because of sporting activities. They don't want to miss their game time tomorrow, and their coaches said they can't miss practice. And then also a couple of our kids who are working, they have family members who are going to speak on their behalf. Some of the students wrote something to say. So we started at Willamette Career Academy last year. We kind of did a pilot program, and we had 4 students who started attending second semester. Willamette Career Academy is set up to be a 2-year program for students where they spend half of their day at Central and then half of their day at Willamette Career Academy. They are still Central School District students, and they graduate from Central High School. What they're able to do there in the 7 programs, though, is experience really high-level, rigorous CTE programs that open opportunities for them into next steps. And they will be able to talk more about that here in just a minute. This year, we added 13 additional juniors. So we have 4 seniors who will be finishing the medical pathway and cosmetology programs there. And then with this year, when we added the additional 13 students, we now have students in all 7 programs there. So they will be able to speak to you about that. And then if you have questions or things you'd like to ask when we're done, that's great. And it's not like a formal presentation. They're just going to kind of come up and share what this means to them, how it's changed their lives, some of the things that they might be doing that are interesting. So I will turn it over to them. So. They're a little shy, but it's going to be good. So.
And why don't you give us your name and the pathway that you're in, and then whatever else you would like to share with us.
Good evening. My name is Chance Seafelt. I am currently a junior at Central High School and a first-year cosmetology student at Willamette Career Academy. When I signed up and got accepted to attend WCA, I knew then it would not only be a huge opportunity, but great motivation for me and my passion to become a licensed nail technician. My first week at WCA was incredibly nerve-wracking, but it didn't take long for my program to bond together and collaborate with each other. WCA is a hands-on program with incredible staff, instructors, and students. WCA takes the time to prepare you for the workforce environment after high school. For cosmetology, especially, our instructors help us to find salons, studios, and even internships to work in after high school. At the end of my senior year, I will take my board exams and become a licensed nail technician, which then I can start building my own clientele and create my own work environment. I personally believe that it is incredibly important to continue Central students the ability to attend Willamette Career Academy because it helps bridge the gap between education and employment, providing hands-on education in various fields such as healthcare, technology, and trades. WCA ensures that students are better prepared for high-demand careers, which can lead to a more skilled workforce. Additionally, Willamette Career Academy provides students who may not thrive in traditional academic settings an alternative pathway to success.
Good evening. My name is Axeli Rangel Sanchez, and I am also in the cosmetology program. When I decided to sign up for this, I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to see if I would like to be in any of these programs. And I found out that I really do like being in the cosmetology program. I find that it's really fun. I get to meet new people, and the instructors are really nice. They help us with everything there. And I feel like it'll be a great opportunity for other students to also get this chance to also yeah. Good evening. My name is Pavneet Kaur Dhaliwal, and I'm a junior at Central High School. I attend WCA in the afternoon, and I'm a part of the IT Computer Science program. I decided to sign up for WCA because it offers an amazing opportunity to learn more about the field that I'm pursuing. Being at WCA has been such a wonderful experience, and I hope it continues to be available to us. I've made many new friends from different districts, gained hands-on learning experiences, and even became an ambassador.
My name is Kimberly Ortiz Martinez, and I'm also from IT. I decided to pursue IT because I want to expand my knowledge because I know IT was going to grow and expand in the future. And it's just helped so much from like building robots. We also do soldering and 3D printing, and we also use code to create our own websites. WCA is creating a better environment and preparing us for our futures, allowing us to step directly into our preferred fields.
Hello.
It can slide over. Keep sliding it over. It'll reach.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Hernandez, and I'm an 11th grader at Central High School. I attend Willamette Career Academy in the afternoons, and I'm in the dental science program. I like going to WCA because we are learning about something we can do after high school. This year, I have learned a lot about being a dental assistant and working professional. One thing that I really enjoy doing is getting to make dental impressions of teeth. We get to do things hands-on. I have also made new friends from other school districts. When I graduate, I will be able to work as a dental assistant right out of high school and pay for my continuing education in the dental field. Please make sure that Central High School students continue to have the opportunity to go to Willamette Career Academy. It is amazing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Evan Taylor. I'm a junior at Central High School, and I am also in the IT and Computer Science program at WCA. What I like about WCA is that it gives us the opportunity to learn things that we wouldn't be able to at Central. The closest thing that Central has currently to IT and Computer Science is Robotics Club. Unfortunately, that club is struggling at the moment, and in terms of how many people are in it. We also this year no longer have the multimedia program for the CTE pathway, which was the next closest thing that we have. And even with multimedia is more about using software, whereas IT and computer science is more about designing software and organizing hardware and all that kind of stuff. So WCA has been really amazing and enjoyable to be at this first semester, and I would like to do it for the rest of this year and next year.
Good evening. My name is Angelica Salazar, and I am a proud mother of a cosmetology student at the Willamette Career Academy. And I am here to speak up in favor of our Central High School students because attending to Willamette Career Academy makes a huge impact on their lives. For example, I will talk about my daughter. She has been a good student, but after she started attending Willamette Career Academy, she has more motivation. She's more responsible in attending school and completing assignments. She gains confidence on what she can do. She has been able to develop relevant skills on her career. She has become more confident on decision-making. Before Willamette Career Academic, she used to talk about college. Now she talks about making a career. She has a clear path for her future. Central School District Board meeting. Please continue supporting our students because they are our future. Supporting them will help to have a better future for them and their families. And honestly, for some of them, they are first generation. Some of them is the first opportunity they have on their life to break the poverty chain that some of them they haven't lived in. So first generation means a lot, means to have a new beginner for them and their families. Supporting them is supporting our community because they will have something to give back to the community in different ways. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura Seafelt, and my daughter Chance is studying cosmetology at Willamette Career Academy. I would like to tell you just how WCA has helped my daughter in the last 5 short months as she's been involved in the program. But first, I must define a few terms that would describe my daughter before starting WCA. Loss. Loss is defined as the fact or process of losing something or someone, the state of feeling of grief when deprived of someone or something of value. My daughter has suffered several losses in her early teen years, which caused her to grieve in a way she was not experienced in coping with. Depression is defined as a mental health concern characterized by persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and loss of interest in activities that were once pleasurable. I saw my daughter with little energy to engage in school and family due to her depression. Anxiety is an intense and excessive and persistent worry and fear of everyday situations. I know we all have experienced these feelings at some time in our lives. However, for some individuals, it's hard to overcome, and as a parent, the teenage years can be rough. And then came WCA, an awesome opportunity to engage and learn about something Chance was already interested in, but thought she'd have to wait until after high school graduation to pursue. And so now I will tell you what the first 5 months has provided my daughter and why I feel it is so important for her to continue with the opportunity to complete the 2-year cosmetology program at WCA to finish what she started. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is the confidence in one's worth or abilities and value. It can help us cope with challenges and setbacks. WCA has helped Chance improve her self-esteem and her belief in herself to succeed in her future. Motivation. That's the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. It's the energizing of behavior in pursuit of a goal. The motivation I see in Chance now compared to before she started WCA is a breath of fresh air for me as her parent. She's made a decision and I don't see anything stopping her. I'm asking the board to revisit the funding for students in the WCA program so that they will be able to complete their studies in their chosen career path. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gerardo Garibay, and I'm here actually going to read something that my sister wrote. She is a student at Willamette Career Academy, and wasn't able to make it today because of work, so she asked me to read this for her. So my name is Isabela Garibay. I am a first-year student at Willamette Career Academy, WCA. In this program, I am exposed to a lot of amazing opportunities that set me up for success in my future. Thanks to WCA, I am now both OSHA 10 certified and first stage certified. Next year, I will also be able to get my forklift certification along with others. WCA's construction program provides a well-rounded education to all construction-related trades. I had the opportunity to try multiple trades and eventually be able to commit to one I enjoy doing. WCA also prepares their students by practicing employability skills, providing multiple scholarship opportunities. You can obtain college credit, and they help you build your resume, practice interview skills, which helps students obtain a job as soon as they graduate high school. I am extremely grateful I have the opportunity to be a WCA student and do hands-on learning. I have learned a lot about construction, and it has become something I want to do as a career. I believe Central should continue to provide the opportunity for students to attend WCA as it exposes students to amazing opportunities and sets them up for success in the future. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Britta Santoni. My daughter Ari is a senior and she's was in that first group of 4 that got to start last year. And she's at basketball practice, but she really wanted to make sure to submit something to you all. I'll tell you a little bit of how it went down to start with last year. Rosanna Larson scrambled and advocated and begged and argued and schmoozed and got spots for 4. It's hard, right, to come up with money, and we know, you know, more than us. And I'm so grateful she did. At the last minute, one of the original 4 wasn't able to do it. So it was like a scramble. We don't want to lose that spot. Ari, will you go tomorrow? You've never heard of this before. Will you drive yourself to Salem and try it? And Ari has the kind of personality that just says yes to adventure. But she wasn't convinced. she didn't know a ton about it. Her dad and I did, and we said, just go in the morning. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. And she texted me by 9 a.m. and said, this is amazing, I'm in. And so she says after the fact, she didn't realize how much she needed it till she went there. So I'm going to read this from Ari. Hi, my name is Ari Santoni. I'm a senior at Central High School. Before going to WCA, I hadn't been sure of what I wanted to do. School, I had been disillusioned by school. After COVID and 3 different principals in our first 3 years, a lot of students were struggling. I wasn't really motivated to work in school because I couldn't see how a lot of it was helping me or where it would apply to my future. I heard about WCA very last minute, and my parents wanted me to just go for it and try it, and I am so glad I did. Now, instead of stressing about school and my future, I am excited to see what new opportunities I get to have. And at the end of this school year, I get to take an exam that will make me a certified medical assistant. They're also paying that for the health crew to, they're paying the students to do their CNA program and get that done also this summer. And paying for the test. Considering how helpful and encouraging this experience was for me, I can't imagine how helpful and inspiring it would be to more students. I think Ari's aware that she was going to go to college and has been privileged with some opportunities. And we've talked a lot about how I hope you see today, there's not one kind of kid this is good for. Like this is good for every kind of kid. And so I think she can just see how important it is for others. She says, I think securing spots is so important. It also offers a structure and a different approach to learning that's different from our high school.
Hi, my name is Steve Taylor, and I have a son at WCA. He's a junior at Central High School. And I just wanted to express gratitude to the district for creating this opportunity. Gratitude to Rosanna for bringing this forth and really making this happen, and certainly to WCA. I've noticed such a change in my son's excitement about school, not just the programs at WCA, but his time at Central as well, when he's feeling really engaged in what he's doing. I work in the IT field, and I've often been jealous of some of the programs that the Salem-Keizer district is able to offer because of their size. Programs would be very difficult for districts of our size to offer. And over the years, we've had some things at Central High School that have been great. Years ago, we had a web programming class for a short time. There's been multimedia programs, but we've never really been able to offer something significant in the IT field just because of the size of our district. And what WCA can do as a school themselves that many other schools are sending kids to is they can offer these professional programs, not just in IT, but also in diesel mechanics, all the programs we've talked about. When you go and you visit the facility, it's pretty amazing. And when you talk to the instructors, we had the opportunity to talk to instructors from multiple fields there. It's just obvious to me, like they really know what they're talking about. And we're just very, very grateful that we've had this opportunity. We would love to see this continue. We'd love for not only for them to be able to continue this 2-year program that they've started, but also to see future students become a part of this as well, because as everyone has said, it's just a really remarkable thing for these students. And we just really want to thank everybody involved for making this happen.
Thank you.
Say their name, but I'm going to talk a little bit about them and their programs.
Hey, my name's Adrian, and I'm in the diesel program. I'm with him, and the it's pretty fun to learn there, and I think it's a really great opportunity for everybody to learn some trade. diesel, construction, dental, medical, whichever. It's all really great for everybody, and I think they should keep going with that. It's great.
Oh, hi, my name is Jason. I'm in the program of diesel, and I really like it, and I just think it's a good opportunity for more students. And yeah.
Thank you both. I know you didn't want to say anything, so thanks for coming up. The diesel program there is sponsored by PAPA. And my understanding, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we are, like Willamette Career Academy is the only high school that PAPA partners with in the nation. Okay, thanks. Okay, I was like, I think that's right, which is a really great opportunity for them. And they are excited, they might not look super excited, but to become diesel mechanics in the future, and really like a life-changing opportunity for them. Yeah. And then this is,
Hi, I'm Flor. I'm currently a senior at Central High School, and this is my second year at WCA. I was part of the first 4 that were just thrown in there and taken to give the opportunity to. And I would just want to say that it was definitely the right move. It was definitely the right choice. And because the opportunities that WCA offer, I genuinely am very appreciative of them because not only are those skills going to guide me to like college and stuff, but they're going to apply to my future career as well. And I just want to say that everything that these students have said before me, I can abide with that because it genuinely has, sorry, I was not prepared to talk.
You're doing great.
Um, um, all right. I'm part of the medical assistant, healthcare, pathway, and sorry, yeah, and WCA has offered me multiple certifications such as first aid, as Isabella stated in her paper, and just different certifications.
so you tell them a little bit about what you do when you go to hospitals.
Oh yeah, I job shadow due to medical assistant because it has also I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
So thank you so much, Flor. Flor was going to present with Ari, and then when Ari wasn't here, so they were going to kind of tag team that. But when they go into the hospitals, they're actually doing hands-on. I know that they said that they've seen live births. And one day they saw both a C-section, like they were in the room during a C-section and a vaginal birth. Or I mean, it is truly hands-on experiences. They have seen things that were really great, and they've also gone through some things that have been challenging, like seeing a baby pass away, things like that. But it has really helped prepare them to know if this is the field that they want to study in, and all of them do. And the programs extend beyond just the school year too. Flora is going to be doing the medical interpretation test, and so they're going to pay her this summer to continue that training. And because she's bilingual, she will be able to get that certification. So she will get paid to do it, and they will pay for the test as well. And that's what the CNA program they're doing this summer too. They're going to pay students to come and take the classes and study, and then pay, I think it's $1,000 for that test, and they're going to pay for that for the students as well. So it's pretty amazing, and what they're doing is really amazing. So I just wanted to share, and thanks to all of our people who came to talk about how important this is and really the life-changing opportunity for them. So thank you all.
I have one question. What's an ambassador do? Because I think is that mentoring? Who said that? Is there somebody that can share that? Because I think it just talks to the depth of the programming, if I think I know what it is. Perfect. So tell us a little bit about what that means.
So when people come to tour, a lot of the ambassadors, some of them will get picked because there's more ambassadors in some groups, and they will just teach people about all the different programs and the opportunities that come with it. And yeah.
And also being part of an ambassador can help you like communicate with other people and like just show like what each academy is about. And it's also fun because it's also like getting to know new people. And it's not just that, it's just also creating new friends. And it's we also create friends with our teachers. So like everybody there is like friends with everybody. And it's just like a cool experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe just a quick question on the number of students that are involved, both from Central and then just total in WCA.
Come on up, come on up. Yeah.
You want me to state my name and all those things? Alan Kirby, I'm the principal at Willamette Career Academy. So last year we had about 240 students. This year's about 315, 310, and I'm projecting probably 380 next year based on the growth we've had. Central has, I think you had 14 this year, 17 this year in multiple programs. So it's definitely on a growth trajectory. We added that 7th program, dental, this year. So that's new for us.
And how many schools?
19 currently.
Schools. Feed
Yeah.
Cool.
Some private schools and some mostly public schools, a few private schools, and some homeschool students also come.
Right, I saw that.
How close are you to getting to capacity? Do you have still a ways you can grow?
If we really get to 380, 390, that's pretty close. I think 450 would be absolutely every seat full in every program, which is hard to do because districts buy some slots and have to fill them all. But it's definitely felt different this year than last year, even with the growth we had. So I think we're a year away, maybe 2, but several of our programs that were only in year 2 last year really exploded this year with full year 1 cohorts. And so as I see that growth coming in dental, construction, and manufacturing, I think we're going to be approaching 400, most likely.
And what percentage of your students would say get into and stay in the field that they study?
We've been doing some alumni surveys. This is year 4, and so we're still pretty young. We did some alumni surveys recently. I was looking at that this week. It's a limited number of 80 kids. Most of them are in the field or studying the field that they have studied. Some don't, and some aren't working in the field. But the majority of those who responded, at least, are either still in college or school for the field or are working in the field. So we do a survey for seniors too to talk about what they plan to do, and that's definitely high. We're still working on continuing to get data from when they leave. As you know, that's difficult sometimes to get, but we did get some good response from them, and they did say that most of them are pursuing. Although it is not what we necessarily want, there is some value in kids also learning this is not what they want to do. I know I did see on the survey somebody went a completely different way because they figured out it wasn't for them, but it didn't cost them anything to find out.
Right. And are there job placement services as well through the school?
So we do our interview fair, which some of the students mentioned, I think, and then we have a career and hiring fair.
Nice.
And so the industry partners, that some of them which have interviewed kids a few weeks prior, come back and we have them opportunities with their cover letters and all those things to go talk to different businesses and then possibly get hired. We have opportunities to interview there. Last year, most of them did the interviews separately, but some of the partnerships we make, they just kind of organically have happened that way. In construction, they go to do rigging training at Morrow Crane down by the Salem Airport. We now have a student working there. And we've had people come out from just different construction industries looking for that. PAPE's hired students as well. So that's definitely a May project for us, is to try to bridge that gap the best that we can. And the goal for dental is, in that new program, I'll stop talking soon, I promise, but I like this stuff, is that second year, they're going to go into dentist offices to get their EFTA, which is their expanded functions dental assisting. And my goal is that our kids do such a great job that they can get offered a job from that office. So that's our hope.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue. Right now, this is a mix of how we fund this. I appreciate Rosanna and the advocacy, right? This is also about graduation rates and, students completing the pathways that they would like. We cannot, as our families have said, we can't do everything because of the size of our school. We are not 40,000 like Salem Kaiser, but this gives students an opportunity to get in a field that they either will find passionate or maybe not their pathway. So we'll continue to work through that. Part of that is through the high school success grant. And so we'll continue to look at that as we go into budgeting this year and what that looks like. So really good programs for students to get across.
So how does this mesh with our own CTE offerings?
Yeah,
Are they?
you want to talk a little bit about that?
So you probably heard there is some overlap. We have construction at the high school, but Isabella, who is doing that program, she came and really advocated for herself to be able to go to Willamette Career Academy because she's also getting to experience blueprint design and different things like that. And she wants to go into architecture. And so what they offer is much more encompassing and some of the things that we don't even touch on. And then for the medical pathway, it's similar. We're growing ours, but we're kind of looking at moving ours into a different direction until we really need to hire a teacher for that. I mean, and that's, funding is always challenging. So at some point down the road, if we're able to do that, we maybe would be able to offer some of those. And that was one of the reasons we didn't have students go into the health science this year. So only our seniors from last year did that. We were kind of waiting to see where are we going to grow ours. We have recently been using U Science, which is a college and career exploration tool, and it really helps us for our students to understand their aptitudes. So not just what they're interested in, but what do they actually have aptitude for. And so we're excited to be able to have all of that data here in the next few weeks. Our students will be done with all the aptitude testing. Brain games is what we're supposed to call them, not tests, but and that will also help us to know where do our students have those skills and what should we be developing with our CTE program. So that's the only overlap. Our other CTE programs, criminal justice, and some of the different ones that we have, the theater program, we don't have anything like that at Willamette Career Academy. So Willamette Career Academy is offering a lot of CTE program opportunities. Like we don't have diesel mechanics, we don't have the machinists, so some of those things.
Okay. Else?
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your time and your attendance. This was great. We love to see this stuff. And thank you, parents, for supporting your kids in this way. That's awesome.
I
Love to
did
see it.
tell them they're welcome to stay, but that they also could leave if they
Yeah.
need to do it this
We don't
time, too,
mind.
so.
We're used to.
We'll have homework and other things, so.
Thank you very much. Oh, and I should also say thank you to transportation. They have really worked with us. That's always a big lift to add something. We already are short drivers and trying to get everybody where they're supposed to be within our district. So getting kids to the other side of Lancaster has been an extra ask of them. They have helped with that. I have driven that route many times this year. I got my certification. Julie Heilman's done that. Monica has done that. Trevor from
All in.
high school. We are all in for getting the kids back and forth. So thanks to everybody who's helped make that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to give it a minute. Absolutely. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
We're at a point where we want to make sure that everybody got that we really gotta go in there. There's some kids that are gonna be fine either way.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to shift, and Cece, I don't know if you want to come up here as well, but we are shifting, and joining us this evening is David Bledsoe, who is from Paul Rogers and Company PC to share the 23-24 school year third-party audit for our district. Just a reminder for the community, this is an annual requirement within the state of Oregon for K-12 districts.
Good evening. Y'all hear me all right?
Yes. Cece, you want to do any introductions? Are we good to go? And Brian, welcome. Excuse me, David, excuse me, my
No
fault.
worries.
Nope. I will just let David introduce this to you. Again, we went through our complete and full audit, and Polly Rogers also prepares our financial statements for us. So they do that work, and then they audit a number of things he'll talk to you about, and we'll discuss their findings this year.
Thank you for the introduction. Sorry, I was just walking the golden retriever out, so she doesn't join us as well this evening. Thank you for the brief introduction, Cease. My name is David Bledsoe. I've been an audit supervisor here at Pollard Rogers and Company out in Tigard for about 5 years now. I have the pleasure of working with Cease and her staff for I think 3 years. This past audit, to give you a brief introduction, what we do, we are contracted to do a number of audits for the district. The first one is over the actual financial report. Simply put, do the numbers make sense front to back? Is the cash correct? Is the amount of disbursements recorded, receivables recorded, receipts recorded, so on and so forth. The second item we're contracted to do is adherence with Oregon minimum standards. There's not an Oregon maximum standards, that just refers to state law. That's matters of budget compliance, experience, or to reporting of teacher experience, bid quote compliance. Did you talk to 3 vendors before you spend a certain amount of money, so on and so forth. The third audit we're contracted to do is one over your federal awards. If you spend more than $750,000 of federal awards, we're required to do what's called a single audit, or just essentially redo the audit over those grants. I have a report across all 3 areas, no major issues. The major issues you want to watch out for are what we define as a material weakness or significant deficiency. Those 2 require you to draft a corrective action plan, file it with the state, essentially explaining, here's what happened, here's what we're going to do about it, or not do about it in some cases. Material weaknesses are just problems that either led to a material misstatement of numbers or a rather large deviation in controls. A significant deficiency is a little bit less severe than that. You didn't have either one of those, I'm happy to report. As far as the single audits this year, we did work over at ESSER, which is the remnants of the state, or rather the federal COVID response dollars, as well as the Child Nutrition Cluster, which funds a lot of your school programs. Outside of that, we did our normal work as well, looking at the SIA dollars, Student Investment Account funded by the Student Success Act. That's a little bit of a mouthful. As well as just make sure the books were reflective of what's going on. As you're aware, you report on the modified cash basis, so your net position is not as heavily influenced by those state pension liabilities, PERS, RIA, as well as others. Those numbers are a bit nebulous. Thankfully, I don't have to try to walk you through how to understand those and digest them. Referring to your net position, you're only modified for payroll liabilities. I will note a few things that are not on net position because of that reporting. You don't have your long-term debt. As you all know, your QSCB has been retired for the fiscal year ended 24, so that fund has gone to 0. Representing you just don't have an ending fund balance because the fund is no longer in service. Outside of that, if I could direct your attention to printed page 4 of the audit report, if they have that in front of them.
They got a link to it. I don't know that anybody printed it out. I didn't print it out.
I'll just talk at a high level then if we don't want to flip there. Just a few things to point out. You do have a healthy ending general fund for the fiscal ended 24. Different districts produce different metrics and how to evaluate that. A common one is how much do we have left over as a proportion of our disbursements. Different districts set different levels, usually at the board level. You obviously don't want to have 0, you want to have a little bit in the bank. This year, I believe you have just a smidgen over 13% in the general fund, which is healthier than a lot of districts I work with. There's not too much you can do to influence that. You can only tighten coffers so much because you need to have continuity of services and be mission focused. However, just don't want to throw that out there. I'm happy to answer any questions about the audit, what we do. Generally, we would prepare a communication to the board that unfortunately due to administrative lapse, we forgot to email over to Cease. So you'll see that probably in the next meeting. There's nothing exciting on it. There's 3 pages about new GASBs that won't affect you. GASBs is the standard setter, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. They write the rules that we deal with. Because you modified cash, a lot of those are not necessarily applicable to you since they don't hit net position. Those are things like pensions, disclosures about leases, disclosures about subscription obligations, so on and so forth. Again, just to reiterate that audit was clean, single audit was good. Unfortunately, don't have too much to chat about since things go well, so I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any insight about what we look at, the process, anything like that.
I do have a retired tax attorney here, and she's been through a lot of audits, so you might get a question here. I don't know.
Okay. I'll get the taxes open.
Very heavily marked up audit report in front of me. but only because I thought, I'm gonna look at it. Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. I turned it off because I was drinking water. Is that right? Is it working now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that working now? I don't know. Is that one working now? I wasn't sure. Okay, so I can't look at it and talk to it at the
No,
same time.
you can't.
So even though I have read the audit all the other years, this year I was thinking about it in a different way because we got a lot of feedback during the bond campaign about how people didn't really understand a lot of things. And that's one of the reasons I was really glad that you were coming today, because I thought your introduction, first of all, was very, very good. Explained it very well, but it's so complicated that I think we slow it down a little bit to talk about the reasons why we have to look at the numbers so many different ways. And is it fair to say that one of the reasons we have multiple audits is because we have to account for things in different ways, depending on who it is the audit is for? Would you say that's accurate? And can you explain it's 4 different ways, or I forget, I don't have the number in front of me right now.
Yeah, happy to kind of give that some legs. So yeah, you're exactly correct. The audits are very complicated. The standard setter CSD, what they're looking to do with the new standards is they're trying to provide additional user clarity. In my opinion, I think missed the mark because they're making the pages more and more dense. So it's much harder for a user to really understand the takeaway, the high level. What's the so what of this report? As far as the differences, a key difference that you don't have as necessarily as impactful as others because of your modified cash basis is a difference between what we call budget basis or the modified accrual basis of accounting and full accrual, which is your government-wide basis of accounting. The big difference between them, your budget basis or the economic resources focus model, if you want to be very academic about it, that looks to see what current resources you have to pay present obligations. So what do you have to pay, what you need to pay this year? Things that you don't include at the budget basis, you're going to budget what you need to pay for as far as your debt. Of course, you've got to budget for your cash out the door. But what's not shown on that basis on the balance sheet is the carrying amount of the debt in the same way. That's considered something that's a long-term liability. In the same way, if you reported capital assets, they're a long-term capital asset. You're going to account for the cash flows. I need to buy a bus. I need to pay that bus loan, but you're not going to show them on the balance sheet the same way. As far as the other audits, those are done for a variety of reasons. The state audit is done by, the state wants us to do it. It's a matter of state statute. As far as the federal one, if you want to spend federal dollars, you need a federal single audit. I believe the single audit standard started sometime in the mid-90s. It's when we kind of shifted away from an older approach where every grant had much different requirements to a more unified approach where a lot of grants share disclosure requirements and reporting requirements and importantly testing requirements. As far as how to digest the numbers, again, your report numbered pages 1, 2, 3, and 4. That tells you your balance sheet, what assets and liabilities do you have at a point in time, in this case, June 30, and then what receipts and disbursements, revenue expenses you had for the period ended June 30. So what money came in, what money went out. Outside of that, the financial statements kind of walk you through a few different areas. Note 1, to give you the full walkthrough, that just defines what we refer to as the SSAP or the summary of significant accounting policies, essentially paragraphs about how you're treating different stuff. A lot of this is pro forma across the state. There's only so many ways to describe tax receivable, for instance. It's a really a unified idea. The second one is about cash. Majority of your holdings is in the local government investment pool. That's a lot of word salad. Essentially what that is, instead of having a savings account at any other bank, the state has a cooperative where the state treasury pools together state assets of municipalities and buys 6-month treasury notes. That's a substantive investment policy do. It is about the safest stuff you can buy. But the idea there is they can generate a bit better yield than any district could on their own, and it really reduces the administrative burden upon your staff to actually go out and directly buy those from the federal government. The state pools the money and does all the hard work for you. Outside of that, we do have a note about long-term debt. You know, we all know what that is. It's predominantly buses and bonds, the 2 Bs there. You do have some disclosures about pensions. Those are perhaps the most difficult to really wrap your head around. They're come in two big flavors. I'm gonna use pensions a bit broadly since they do have a technical term, rather technical definition. As we're talking about these, you have PERS or Oregon PERS and an OPEB RIA, which is the flip side of it. The long story is the state does not have sufficient assets held in reserve to pay what the actuaries think this is going to cost over the horizon. For the fiscal year ended 24, the state had 81.7% of the assets. So if they need to spend $100, they only have 82. So the delta between what assets they have and what the projected benefit costs are going to be is expressed to each district as a slice of that pie or a slice of that indebtedness. On the flip side, RIA, similar, but that funds health insurance. That is a newer plan, so the state was a bit ahead of the curve in funding it, and right now it's got a healthy funding over 200% this year. So if you were to report those, the net impact of PERS would drag down your net position. It would make you look like you have less money, while RIA would actually increase it because you do have kind of a made-up asset. These numbers are highly volatile. The actuaries are far better at math than I, so I don't want to necessarily walk upon their hard work, but they're influenced by things like projections about investment returns, inflation projections, health insurance projections, how long are people going to live, how much is their healthcare going to cost, so on and so forth. Pretty complex calculus goes into those tables, and they can swing pretty wildly. It's not uncommon for districts to see greater than a 20% swing to their bottom line annually from these. Not too much you can do about them outside of issuing a PERS bond, which you can't do on a whim. That's a long-term focus. Outside of that, you mentioned, I think Steve mentioned some of the tax lawyers. There are tax abatements. Those are essentially concessions provided by the county, saying, hey, we want to incentivize something or provide a cost-saving initiative to someone. So instead of charging you X amount of property tax, we're going to charge you Y. So that doesn't have a super tangible impact to you outside of reducing revenues from the county. But in the proportion of the county, we're not talking about immense amounts of money necessarily for any particular entity. It's really when you look at a county on a broad scale that you see those come to play. The two most recent GASBs a lot of folks dealt with have no impact because of your basis reporting. They changed the way we disclose leases for y'all, that's buses. For a lot of other folks, we had to do some pretty complex math to evaluate the net present benefit and cost of like a printer and a subscription to Adobe Acrobat. Really a lot of work for, I don't think a lot of juice from those disclosures, but that is something that's been kind of at the forefront of what we've been looking at kind of across the state. Yeah, happy to kind of talk about this all night if you're interested. I can go down the rabbit hole about any given page.
And you all know as we,
I don't want to keep you all night.
Oh, no, I'm happy to.
But actually, my only other question is more like kind of to help people understand a little bit the baseline for how you do some of your processes, right? Because we've got it already closed. How many pages was the audit this year? Yeah.
70.
Yeah, I thought 77 pages. So that seems like a big report, but the volume of information you review in order to produce a 77-page audit report, I don't think that a lot of people realize like how much testing you have to do and reviewing original documentation. It's not just like you're taking a summary and then you're writing a 77-page report. Can you kind of explain what your process is?
Yeah, so the broad audit methodology, I'll speak. Earlier I broke down, there's essentially 3 audits. I'll kind of go back to that framework. The first one is over the numbers. So what we do there is we essentially get substantially every bank statement reconciliation for the district for a whole year, trace those numbers around, where's the money going. In addition, we, on a test basis, will look at disbursements and receipts. We cannot check every check that anyone writes. So what we do is we essentially break them off into different buckets and look at them, who controls what process, what buttons and levers are being pulled by whom, what controls can we see there, and then we kind of hone in on test certain aspects. On a broad basis, we look at everything from employee reimbursements, payroll, or the common ones, the accounts payable process. Specifically, we'll go and re-reconcile turnovers from the state. If anyone's curious, you could go get a report from ODE that says exactly how many dollars they gave to anyone in the state. We take those and reconcile it to as close as we can get it. As far as if the state says they gave you blank, what did you record across every grant, the state school fund, the common school fund, Measure 98, so on and so forth. In addition to those, we do send questionnaires both to the staff, C's included, as well as the members of the board, inviting their response to have an open and free communication line in case anyone does want to blow a whistle on anything, to make sure that there's no fear reciprocity if you were to say, hey, maybe this doesn't look right. Outside of that, as far as the testing, we also go in and look at, I've talked about pensions for a little bit. There's a lot of work on pensions that's unfortunately not hitting your net position, so I can't talk you through how those work, but a lot of work on the state pension obligations, a lot of work on the bonds. We do go out and review the continuing debt obligations that are required by the state, and we're reporting what your legal debt margin is, how close you are to that, so on and so forth. Any continuing disclosure requirements about ratios of how much money you have in this fund versus that fund. Adherence to your budget. We do read your entire budget every year, usually twice. We look at both the audit year and next year's. We might ask questions needed about that. Outside of that, that's really the stuff that C sees most often. Just the audit end. I just pulled up, I think last year, if we were to print the audit file, it would be 5,124 pages.
Great.
So if we were to actually print out the audit of what we did, there is an enormous volume checklist to make sure that every small possible extension item is disclosed correctly. Everything is adherent to both professional standards as far as reporting of the district's books, their numbers, the so what, as well as our documentation of it as independent auditors. Within the whole process, the kind of the takeaways, it's all just essentially risk-based. So we have to go in and analyze what are the different risks at different areas of the district operations, including cash tendering, who has access to cash, who can move cash, how is stuff recorded, how do we make sure that it's a complete population that is, if someone hands you, if I were to go to McDonald's, if I hand them $100 bill, does that $100 bill make it in the cash register? Stuff like that, all the way to disbursements, looking at where is the even food dollars via your commodities, your donated food revenues. It's a pretty large scope review of the district's books. 77 pages is kind of only the surface of what we might look at. That's just essentially the minimum that's required to disclose, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into producing the audits and getting all the documentation lined up to where we can be satisfied that every number and every page is correct within the guidelines it needs to be, and the whole thing kind of tells a story that's complete and neutral.
Thank you so much for explaining that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to continue to chat as long as anyone's interested in hearing me.
I'm going to give everyone else a break now. Thank you.
I think also in the audit, as he shared, the pages that are really looking high level, pages 2, pages 3, and pages 4 really do paint that picture of what I'm going to call different buckets that we are responsible for. If you have not done a lot of audits, that is a really good starting place to have an understanding of each of the lanes that we have financially.
I think it's also useful to think about it in that big picture before you dig in and you think, oh, this number means that, because if you're in the wrong section for what you're trying to answer, it doesn't mean that. So
yeah,
just
it may be focusing on page 4. If anyone's not super abreast to kind of how to read these things, how you would normally read a financial report for a Fortune 500 either entity, you're going to see here's how much stuff we have as just a corporate group. You're not really going to break it down this way. Governmental accounting is a bit different. The focus is different. The focus is trying to give users, taxpayers, essentially a better understanding of what's going on. Looking at page 4, which is essentially just an income statement, how much money do we take in to pay out? We have different funds, as we call them. The general fund is your standard operations. That's where your state school fund dollars go in. That's how you're essentially supporting the school. Special revenue fund is just a long-winded way to say grants. That could be grants.
And lots of those grants, those are grants that have tripled in 3 years.
Yeah. A lot of those are COVID era. Your federal sources there is $4 million. A large part of that is COVID sourced. The QSCB fund, that the QSCB is a qualified school construction bond. This was something that went away. I believe in 2018 is when they under the TCGA when they took that away. That essentially gave you essentially a credit line to build buy something to build on or improve. Capital projects refers to just capital items, buildings, so on and so forth. A bit different. The QSCB is a debt retirement fund, so showing how you're paying off that versus the capital project is how you're building it. Other non-major includes a variety of things. It includes some state, includes some federal. Those are kind of grouped up towards the back in what we call a combining schedule, where we take kind of smaller funds and then we add them together to become a bigger fund for reporting purposes. So it can be a bit difficult to follow the initial starting place up to where it flows. The end of that page 4, that's your whole government though, that's everything. It's important to note that different funding does also come with different restrictions. If you get a grant to perform a certain item from the feds, you can't do just anything with it. You have to spend it in line with the grant award. Same thing with your debt. If you get money to pay to service your debt, you can't essentially turn around and spend that on something else. So different funds are restricted in that way, so they're not freely available for use just about wherever you may want. That's, kind of a high level fund accounting. It's one of the most difficult topics, even for new accountants and auditors that we hire to really come to head with, because it is so foreign for much private company financial reporting. It's a very alien concept, so it can be a bit difficult to understand. Well, how does this fund have this? Well, this one has that. It can be just a bit weird to really understand how those numbers come to be.
Thank you.
I think another thing on that page 4 to point out where really it is sort of our income statement shows how much we end up with at the end of the year. The general fund, that end fund balance, of course, we carry forward to the following year to start out and figure out if we need to allocate that. The special revenue fund, which he mentions is our grants, that's a very small number. And the reason for that is the grants that are included in there are typically reimbursement grants. We spend the money, we claim the money, then we get repaid. So we typically don't carry over a large balance in that. And in fact, it could be negative or near zero, because depending, as we're on a modified cash basis, depending on when we say State of Oregon reimburses and when they actually deposit it in our fund, could be over the fiscal year. So that's one thing to look at. It's not that we've, done all this crazy spending and don't have that money available. It's that those are purely reimbursement, and with our cash, modified cash basis, they don't show up that way. So
It's just a timing issue.
yeah, right.
Yeah, it's timing issue. To better understand the reimbursement base, if you're familiar with the concept of just like, oh, it's the end of the budget year, they're buying. If you get a grant award for $1 million and you don't spend the million, you have essentially lost whatever you didn't spend. So it can be kind of a very difficult dance at the end of the year to really balance your grants and figure out, well, this one's got a period performance. I have to spend it by 6:30. Maybe one of them's 8:31, the next one's 9:30, and then you have to really reallocate your spending. And work with the Department of Education, Oregon, ODE, to essentially figure out what costs could be shared between multiple grants and how to spend those down to essentially get the most value from your grant awards, and importantly, not lose any of that spending. Since if you don't spend it, you don't get it as far as the reimbursement goes. So you really can't essentially build up a healthy fund balance in that way, because it's reimbursement based. You spend $1 and they give you $1 back. They're not going to give you $2 necessarily.
Okay.
Executive Director Julie Ham and I call that the blending and braiding of those funds, right? How you do that to meet the needs of first our students and then our staff in that process. So again, I appreciate that explanation.
And do you want to go ahead and mention the finding? And I'll be presenting our corrective action in the business part of the agenda. You don't have to stick around for it.
Yeah, as far as the communications go, you didn't have one of the really big communications that we want to watch out for. Those are your material weaknesses and your SNP deficiencies. Those are essentially the numbers are bad, where there was some massive deviation controls. When we kind of went through, there was a couple things we pointed out. I'll kind of briefly talk through. And apologies for the administrative lapse on our end to not have the nice report in front of you to look through these. The first one is we're dealing with fidelity insurance. That's just a fancy way of saying how much insurance do you have over cash balances. I work with about 24 school districts and ESDs across the state. Not one of them has sufficient insurance. You just can't. So how this works, the state carrier offers $1 million. Just about everyone has more than $1 million at the end of the year. If you don't, if you're a really, really, really small district, the small district I work with, I can count the students on one hand. They don't pay the premiums for that coverage. So that just looks at in the event of a crime, what would they reimburse as far as an insurance payout? The district's internal controls are set up such that there's 2 sets of eyes, 2 sets of hands on all our movements. So one person can't move money alone, which is really what you want to look out for. So one person couldn't do that. Outside of that, we had a couple of them pop up, just kind of briefly go through the documentation. I think one of them, see something referring to the bid quote item, which was the documentation there.
Yeah, I was about the minimum standards finding was the one I
Oh
was
yeah,
looking at.
yeah. So the on that one, I believe it was related to. Sorry, the dog's barking in the background. I hope you can't hear that. I'll give a moment for the calm down. Yeah, that's referring to the teacher experience reporting. Essentially, how we look at there. When we go, am I on the right track, Cease? Sorry. Yeah, okay, cool. So one thing we look at is reporting teacher experience. Essentially, did they go up a year compared to last year? This is a report that's required across the state, so teachers move between districts. Their years of experience move with them, as well as some other items. I believe one of the test procedures we do is just recalculate what we expect them to be based on the hire dates. This can be a bit of a difficult process. We often work directly with the staff in the business office because maybe someone started a substitute, leave of absence, so on and so forth, to really get down to the brass tacks of what the number should be at a point in time.
And the reason for the teacher experience being so important, it factors into our state school fund. It's part of the formula. And then the only other thing, the minimum standards about the bid documentation. That's the only one I'm going to address with the Secretary of State. So if you want to let them know about that.
Yeah. As far as the big quote one, so usually how I explain it is the standards did change as of January 1st, 2024. So we have a bit of a higher standard now. So this year we did have a bifurcation in those requirements. But if you want to spend more than $25,000 on the disbursement, you're required by law to go about and get 3 if you want to spend more than that, once you cross what we refer to as the intermediate procurement threshold, you need to have board meetings about it. There's public notice. That's if you want to build a school, if you want to remodel a school pretty heavily, you're going to see board meetings about it, public notice, long-winded presentations to be make sure that all dollars are expended judiciously. It's a fair process. Everyone's aware of it. I believe in this one, it was due to the password issue. The ransomware attack that the district suffered. So there was just a couple bits of documentation that unfortunately were not available. Our methodology is based on a trust but verify. We do have to wear essentially a hat of professional skepticism. So we can believe all we want, but unfortunately if the PDF isn't available to look at of something, we can't trust that it was there. So there's just an unfortunate consequence of just a timing event. It's something I would expect to occur in the future since it really was just a rare one-off event that unfortunately is impacting government statewide as far as the exposure of those. Outside of that, I mean, it's going clean audit, so it's nice and easy to talk through. There's no large findings to talk folks through.
We like boring audit reports. Yes,
Yeah.
we do. All right.
Perfect.
See nothing else. See you later.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for having me.
I'll come back during the business agenda.
All right, up next, we're gonna have our manager, Mike Cook, come up, just share a little bit about transportation. We have not done an update. So he's going to give you an update of where we are for the 24-25 school year. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
As we talked late last night and again this morning, because I'd like to say weather is not an issue, but Mike is part of the team that as we make decisions about potentially starting school late or having to do closures, Mike and his team are a big part of that. So I know we'll be talking later tonight after this board meeting even.
And in the morning.
And in the morning.
So, you probably have this packet in your thing. We're not exempt from the national bus driver shortage. So I'm gonna just go over a few stuff we have from what we have available to us. So our students that are eligible for busing is 1,900. Eligible to ride and register to ride is 860. An average per day is 450. So if we had all them 1,900 students ride, we don't have enough people to call them to school. We don't have enough buses to haul them to school if that was the case. If 860, even with that number right now, we don't have enough drivers. We possibly could have enough buses. Our employees, we have 20 CDL drivers. That's including myself and the 2 mechanics and my admin assistant. 3 monitors, 1 substitute driver, and 5 crossing guards. We have 12 routes this year, down from 15 in 2020. So when COVID hit, we actually had to do some creative routing, and it was about the time we got our routing software. We went down, we consolidated, we got rid of 2 sped bus routes and did it in 1. So now we have big buses hauling our sped kids around. 3 of them routes. The rest is gen ed routes. We do have some kids that we haul out of district. There's 11 students, and we have to use an outside agency, which is Assist Services. In the past, we've used Dial-A-Bus. They're strictly now Corvallis School District. They took contract with them. We have updated our routing software. So when somebody registers for the bus, they send us their live information through a Google Sheets. We route them through our routing software. Then in turn, we reach back out to them through an app on their phone that's My Ride K-12. That tells them their routing information. We have GPSs, so if the bus is late or anything, that's on there. We also could send messages through that app to say, hey, snow routes for, say, Fishback route, which now is Yaquina. We've named the routes rivers for ease of us inside. Other than that, this year we started, I want to say before Christmas break, we have a gentleman from Transitions that's job shadowing our mechanics. He was a little rough, but he has thrived coming into our department, and they're always saying that he's doing better and, good attitude and all that. It's rewarding as the manager there, seeing this child thrive at this, so it's good. We're doing good things as a department and as a school district. Is there any questions, any comments? No.
And the process takes how many, just generally hours wise for a true full CDL?
So for a true CDL, it's a minimum of 15 hours. Our last person didn't have any experience. It was 30. The person before that was a truck driver, and it was 35 to 40 hours because you have to you have to take away the truck driving experiences. Driving a bus is different than driving a semi. So you have to, there's different training things to do.
So you said you're down to 12 routes versus 15. So if you manage to get drivers, do you have buses to add those other 3 routes back?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep, yep. And it would actually, right now, we are down to, we're doing creative routing with sports trips. We're allowing 1 sports trips a day because we don't have the people to get the students to and from school.
Right.
Yeah. Say for example, this year they did stack basketball. So all the teams go at once. We send a driver at 2:30 or whatever. And then another driver, when they get done with route at 4:30, 5 o'clock, goes and picks up the other group and then runs them. Now, when we do something like Lebanon, we don't have time to get back. Every place else we go, we have had time to get back and get the other students at 5 o'clock and get them to their event. So it's juggling a lot of balls to make it work. And our mechanics drive a lot, we drive a lot to try to help the whole process. So thank you for listening.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Say that again. Well, again, as you heard a little bit, we have had staff, I'm just going to example of Willamette Career Academy, Julie and Rosanna, again, not CDLs, but we have had staff that have started to get their training so we can run the smaller buses and be able to support. Again, when we talk all hands in a school district our side, that is at times what we're trying to do. Okay, real quickly, I'm gonna just give you a brief snapshot because we're gonna bring back in March for the full report, but our graduation rates were released for the 23-24 school year. A couple things I just want to remind the community and just what we're excited about, even though, again, our graduation rates did go up, we're at 78.4. That's not where we want to be, but we're trending in the right direction. I want to remind the community and the board that the class of 2023-24 started their high school career in the midst of COVID and the protocols and the distance learning. As freshmen, so they were the first group this is the freshman group that came in as we were going through that. Only 46% of them were on track by the end of that first year. So the fact that really 78% of those students graduated on time, and we know 5th years are going to be also a part of that. That's really shows the resiliency of that class, those students, and it's pretty remarkable that they were able to do that. We have having less than half the students be on track and then graduate them at 78. That's resiliency by students, and that's the great work of our staff working with students to try and catch them up. Summer school programming, recovery programming, all of those things that come into that. So I wanted to just share that as a positive point. We will come back to you. We did see some pretty significant growth. We have shared it in a communication, but we will come back and share more about the focal groups in March with our other data update that we will do. But I just want to take a quick minute to share that. Again, we're not where we want to be. We want to make sure our graduation rates are higher, but for this group specifically with what they have gone through, it's really good work by everyone to get all the students across that we could, and then we'll continue to work through that 5th year and beyond. We are, and I can't wait to share again, the focal groups in the article that we shared. We're pretty excited to share about that, and we're making progress. So kudos to everyone for the work.
Upcoming activities, the next board PLC is February 24th. Our next board meeting is on March 3rd. Which takes us to our consent agenda. We'll hear a motion on whether to adopt that as it is. Moved by Dawn, seconded by Susan. We have a
We do.
quorum. Yeah, I
It
have to
makes the
vote.
quorum. And we do have a board member also online. Jan has joined us
Okay.
virtually today.
All those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as is, please raise your hand, right hand. Any opposed? Jan, I assume by your silence, you are in support of that, so we'll say unanimous. Moving on to the business agenda, WESD.
Yeah, so before Cease comes up to do the audit, because we are leading towards a new biennium, this is something that we do. So in December, the Willamette Education District Board of Directors approved the 25 through 27 local service plan as submitted by the Executive Council. The local service plan must be approved by our Board of Directors in preparation for the next school year. And again, in our packet attached is what that looks like. Just a reminder for the board, these are potentially programs or services that we cannot hire or we choose to go through the Willamette ESD. Examples of that include at times psychologists, nurses, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, those types of positions that we work with the education district to be able to hire and service our students. So we'll start that process in March, April for the next year's budget. Correct. Correct.
Right. Towards the bottom is the things that we do take advantage of.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Any questions on this resolution?
I was gonna say, I move to approve the 2025-27 local service plan submitted by the Willamette ESD.
Moved by Steve. Seconded by Don. All those in favor, raise your right hand. The resolution is adopted unanimously.
Thank you for that. We have one overnight travel request. We have 20 students from Central High School in the Model UN program that would like to travel to Eugene for the Oregon Model UN event. That event will happen April 11th to the 13th, and it is overnight. So we are just looking for approval of that trip.
I move to approve Central Model UN students to travel to Eugene, Oregon in April.
I second the motion.
Moved by Susan, seconded by Steve. Any discussion, questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous.
And then last is the acceptance of the 23-24 financial audit and the management response. With that, I'll turn it over to Cease Koontz.
Thank you very much. As David mentioned, of all of the parts of the audit, there is one which requires our response to the state of Oregon, to the Secretary of State. And a couple of years ago, that law was amended to require board approval of the management response. So I believe what was sent out to you indicates that one finding that he mentioned, which was that the laws pertaining to documentation regarding bids, right? Very important, showing that we've done our work, that we're out looking for the best possible vendors. And even most of those are informal bids. They don't come to you. You do some of the procurement, the large procurements. But in this case, something that is $25,000, we do an informal bid. We call around, we check with regular vendors, things like that. We document those. We were scanning those and adding them to copies of the invoices on our old shared drive. So when we lost all of the information on the old shared drive, we lost some of that bid documentation. So when they give you a list, please provide the documentation for these. we're like, yay, they would pick one that was lost. So we reported that, and they're finding that we were unable to provide sufficient supporting documentation. Actually, it was 2 of them due to the documentation being lost. And our response, once we got back online, everything is now actually kept in 2 ways. We do keep all documents school district wide now in our Google Drive, which is in the cloud. And we also have the ability to upload things to our finance system. So it would be attached to that vendor. And so we are adding the documentation there as well. And we've done that for a lot of our bidding processes. We just hadn't done it for all of them, and now we do it for all of them. And we started that even before the audit period was over. That is our response.
Okay.
Any
Any questions
questions?
regarding the plan of action?
I move a resolution adopting the 23-24 audit plan of action as presented and direct management to submit to the Oregon Secretary of State as required.
Moved by Dawn. Seconded by Susan. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of the resolution, please do so show by right hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous. We will adopt that resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we come to comments by board members.
I noticed that we're sending 20 kids to Model UN. That seems like a bigger number than we've sent in the past. Nice.
Yes.
And
He forgot what he was going to say.
I forgot to turn on my microphone. Excuse me. What I said was not important.
You made the Model UN comment, though. Did you hear that one?
I just stated off the microphone, but not off the record, that it was impressive that we're sending 20 kids to the Model UN, which is a bigger number than I remember sending in the past, so. Oh, I know. The other comment I was gonna make is looking at our graduation rate and hearing our presentation today, we should put our CTE stuff in there as at least part of the reason why some of those kids are graduating.
Yeah, the CT, both in the, and you'll see this and we'll address this, but we do have 2 areas that are in the graduation, the CTE participants, which means you're in 1 credit or more. And then you have the CTE concentration, which means you're completing a pathway. So those are good areas that we'll make sure that we show you when we do the full report in March. Thank you.
Steve, you got something?
So I think it was exciting seeing a presentation about this kind of stuff. Those 2 boys that are working with the PAPA folks to be diesel mechanics, that's a lifelong career. And there's a shortage of diesel mechanics.
There is.
And so that's an opportunity to get into a trade and start making some really great money.
Yeah.
So
It'll be a while before we have electric Caterpillars.
yeah. So
Never know.
the biggest thing is, it's fun to see all the student presentations that we see about all the stuff that's going on, because it's, we've got the community excited about stuff and they see that we're moving in a positive direction. So those are all exciting.
Right.
I think I talked to them.
Sure.
She was just excited about the audit.
Yes, she was.
As is everyone should be.
It was supposed to be 5 minutes, Susan.
It was supposed to be 5 minutes.
Let's take a look at the schedule of upcoming events from for the board. And if there are no other discussion points or objections, we will adjourn.